Peace, y'all. So, we gonna talk about it today. Just give me 10 or so minutes sort of let it all out and bear with me. I don't have any rehearsed paperwork. This is off the head. Really, I've been doing tons of research the past week or so. Honestly, a little more. But it's actually quite fitting that I finally decided to do the video walking by this church here. That if you could see up here, a design, tons of elements of one of the topics in this video, coat of arms, and what have you. So I'm gonna get right into it. First things first, everything is connected. When I say everything, I mean everything. My goodness. And I don't know if to start in reverse or to start just modern, where we at now, or what. So I'm just gonna, I guess, start. We're gonna be jumping back and forth, of course, because I'm trying to keep this quick, and it looks like I got about 9 or so minutes left. So let's go. So the idea of this country and church and what have you. You know, this was done in a Romanesque style, and it has a lot of intricate designs on it. I mean, it's breathtaking for sure. What really sticks out for me is the intense, dedication to these elements, these coat of arms I mentioned a bit ago. Now, I've been inside, thankfully. I had a nice conversation with the father outside of the church before. I had no intention of going in, at least not at that moment, but he invited me, so I said sure. I went in, paid my respects, looked around. Really looked around. And really all I could see in the church, mainly, predominantly, largely, was these elements of coat of arms, particularly the X, the St. Andrew's Cross. You may have heard it referred to as, here's a connection, the Confederate flag has that famous X on it, which again is St. Andrew's. So, a subsequent topic there would be the Scottish. We're in the South, and formed the Confederate Army and what have you, So essentially, they talk about the Confederates and who were they? Well, they were predominantly the Scottish, and we know that they have their own coat of arms and their own system of belief in society, whatever have you. So we have, that's a connection. So again, everybody has a coat of arms. You name it. You walk around, you search, you'll see. You see what I'm saying? Everybody has it. Just Google it. You wonder somebody's name? Google it. Your last name has a coat of arms, but mainly it's really not your last name coat of arms that really speak the volumes. More so it's every individual one, because that's the one that really holds weight. So you're going to have all kinds of different coat of arms or elements. You're going to have, things like lions, or they call it the rampant lion, in different positions, proper, whatever have you. You're going to have these colorful fields, or different color fields. You're going to have on the sides what they call, I forget what they call it. Like mostly it's going to be like maybe lions or supports, I think they call it. Yeah, supports. So usually they're lions on the side, or lion and the unicorn in the case of the royal emblem, or the royal coat of arms, if you will, has a lion and a unicorn. Then you of course have the crown. So there's going to be different ones. Switzerland has the famous cross, right across in the middle with the red, and then again the Confederate Army, the red looks like it represents Christianity, and that cross of course represents St. Andrews, who we're told was crucified on a cross that was, of course, shaped as an X. because at least the story goes that he said, please crucify me on the X instead of the cross, because I'm not worthy of being crucified like Jesus was, or the same way Jesus was. At least that's the story. So the story we're told. So anyway, we have 5-minute mark, just so you guys know. I'm aware and I'm mindful of your time and respectful. But then we keep going, and you look around, you're like, all right, this war happened, civil war if you call it, And I don't know if it's so much of a civil war, because who was here? Then in the South, if they was warring with the who's here in the North if they was warring with the South? Largely the slave owners were in the South. It looks like that's what we're told. Of course, a lot of all the founding fathers had slaves, and hundreds of slaves, plantations, big wealth, even today's standards. And excuse the wind if it's a little noisy, but that's the elements. But anyway, you think about it, and you're like, all right, so these guys are connected somehow to the British, the French, and the Europeans, the royals and whatever have you. So it's really all these guys essentially against the Scottish and what have you. And of course, Afro-Americans are in slavery in this time. And of course, there's excuse me if I badger the term, indentured servitude is what they called it for the different races. It was similar to slavery, but you could eventually buy your freedom or earn your freedom at some point. Whereas slavery, you was stuck. And if it wasn't for that, the Emancipation Proclamation, and I put the quotes there because it really didn't free the slaves. Instead, it created an industry, for slavery, for the institution of slavery. So when you think about the prison systems, it's synonymous with the institution of slavery. For example, there's a huge company called Corecraft. Here's another connection, offshoot. Corecraft is correctional craft. Okay, now these guys owned by a Bob Barker, who of course is not the one, rest in peace, who was on The Price is Right, which I know a lot of people jokingly say or believe because they don't do the diligence or the research. But I found it's a whole different family, and they really make everything you could think of, from desks to dishwashing, soap, and dispensers. Okay, now, I'll tell you off the rip, that they do everything for the city, for the states. They got nothing but inmates doing it. They paying them, if you're lucky, $10.50 every 2 weeks. Arguably $1 or so a day. Okay, so that's slavery. All right, that's just that be known. Let's clear that up from the gate. Now, continuing back to the coat of arms, I tell you that everywhere you look, there's coat of arms. Okay, everywhere. Now, if you think about the old school buildings in your neighborhood, if you're from like urban, the city or whatever have you, like for instance Bronx or some parts of Manhattan, they have really nice, beautiful buildings with a lot of columns and decorative sort of reef-looking things. And here's a squirrel eating what looks like, if you could get that, I don't know if I can get that or not. There he goes. I hope I'm getting it. Yeah, there he goes. All right, buddy. Enjoy. So now what we get is, and I'm losing my train of thought here, that's the institution of slavery. Now, again, you look around and you see nothing but coat of arms. Now, that is everywhere, okay? Everywhere. America, they have, the coat of arms, the New York State seal. Every state has one. The flags are derivative of it, if you will. All these mottos, so, and that brings me back to really the initial point. Right now we at, nearly 10 minutes, but work with me. And because there's tons of information. Again, there's tons more to be learned. So I'm bringing this out here so you guys could do your diligence and look at those connections. Because really, I'm not saying I know it all, but I've done quite a bit of research in just the past month or so that you'd be surprised what you can find out there. Anywho, continuing on, everything is connected in a lot of ways via these coat of arms. So they have these different insignias, different colors. A lot of them use these different symbols, birds. You see a lot of different regions of the world may stick to just birds, or they may stick to just maybe just lions or just crowns or whatever have you. And each color means something. Each color means something, and it shows some allegiance to or some relation to a foreign power. So a lot of cases you're gonna have, maybe, some country that shows allegiance to Britain. Some country shows allegiance to London, to the royals. How just like the British had the exit, the Brexit, I think they refer to it as. Excuse me, it's getting a little chilly. And I tell you, it shows their power. All right, the coat of arms. Now, why I bring up the coat of arms? I'm glad you asked. So the idea is this: when you look at the Second Amendment, okay, at least when I look at it, I wonder to myself, what could the Second Amendment have meant by using its particular verbiage? Okay, it said everyone has the right to bear arms, bear and keep arms at that. Use the word keep. Now I wonder the word arms. Why not the word firearms? You see, that was a more common usage of the term, right? And guns. Guns was around. That was a valuable word. That wasn't just created. That was around then too. I looked up the etymology of it. Excuse me if I batted that word. But, the origin of the words. So, that word was available, but they used arms. Now, I look at the word arms. I'm like, okay, let's check it out. Arms. George Washington, the first president of the United States of America. He had a famous white and red with 3-star coat of arms. The Washington family. That was his, George Washington. Now, again, I told you guys earlier that it's not necessarily about your family's coat of arms, because technically that's not really too valid. But everybody, you can't use your father's coat of arms. You could use it, but you got to add something to it to differentiate yourself from it. So you can't just swagger jack anybody's coat of arms. That right there shows you furthermore how important it is. All right, so now we've gotten to this point where we're talking about an absolute necessity, like some level of validity, a stamp. See, I made a video on maybe yesterday, talking about how people want to be solidified by their money, and the Nas in the song said, "I'm out to have dead presidents represent me." Now you have former slave owners who had hundreds of slaves and plantations. You want them to represent you and validate your success. And you as a man or a woman, like, that's just absolutely ridiculous, ironic, and anything else that you could think of in that lane or that realm of reality. Now, I tell you this, man. All these people are connected, okay? Now, so far I've gone down to the Normans, okay? Because I got that raid of Normans kept popping up of 1022, I believe, or 1066. Don't kill me in the comments, right? But the idea is this, that they bring a lot of their cultures, their norms, and they also merged and blended and co-inhabited places, particularly Scotland. Again, we come back to Scotland, so that connection is there. So now, we come back. So we in there, and we got the Scottish coming over to America in the southern side. And how do they have also 13 stars representing the first 13 states, which we have also the states You know, the flag representing the first 13 states. Like, how coincidental is it, excuse me, that, you know, say that 3 times, tongue tie, right? How is it that we both have 13 states, first 13 states, first 13 colonies? I mean, come on, man. Think about it. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just very strange. Too much coincidences. Speaking of coincidences, we have Abraham Lincoln, you know, and we have somebody else by the name of Emmett Bledsoe Baylor, okay? Named, Baylor University is named after him. Okay, now these guys have 2 strikingly amazing parallels. Like, their lives are so very similar, down to letters that they wrote to their wives or to their sons, right? These ideas of, you know, where they were born, where they died, nearly all their lives almost being basically just an hour to 3 hours apart. You know, and it looks like they were on opposing sides. One was south, and of course Abraham supposedly was north. And these guys, I mean, look it up for yourself. This is a side note. I haven't done all the research on it yet, but I've been looking into that separate thing for some time. And let me tell you, if I had to say, I'm nearly at this point 85% sure that something strange is going on between those two. Okay, there is such a starking relation to those two people, and the names, like for instance, Bledsoe Baylor was part of a party called Know Nothing Party, and in that party they have a famous poster called Uncle Sam's youngest nephew or something. It's a famous picture that they use as propaganda to promote their war efforts or whatever have you. Now again, the term Uncle Sam, don't let it go over your head. That's what they refer to, you know, good old Abraham Lincoln as, right? Honest Abe. And I always thought about that. Like, what's the emphasis that have to keep saying he's honest? I'm like, man, he's not. Like, what's the problem here, man? I'm looking. You don't really got to say you honest if you honest. You know what I'm saying? What's the point? This I'm looking. Man, this guy's not flawless. In fact, he has so many different, you know, I would say, strange coincidences himself. You know, like all his kids died. His wife died. You know, like there's literally no history of him. He supposedly served in a few wars, some Indian wars or whatever have you, but some people say he just popped up at the last minute of the wars and he didn't necessarily fight. Some people say that they don't really know. You know, I look at the picture of Abraham Lincoln. He looked like a Native American. I know we at 18 minutes now. Forgive me, but it just so happened. Let's try to go for 24 minutes. Anyway, you know, this guy, you know, you look at, you know, how you live, and see, I'm losing my train of thought because the car was coming. But like how are you living? You see what I'm saying? Jeez, I lost that thought. So let's keep going. So the idea is that these cats are all connected. They all playing this sort of game. You see what I'm saying? And all these ruling powers have to wave these flags and these coat of arms and, you know, all these different you know, symbols, you know, and pictographs, if you will, and they flash them around in ways that, you know, they really, you know, take advantage of their powers. You see what I'm saying? And I remember I was talking about Abe Lincoln. So he got so many different things. You look at, he looked like a Native American to me, you know, with these big ears or whatever have you. So they could have easily maybe gotten a picture of a Native American and just represented that, you know. But I feel and I suspect, again, I haven't done all the research, so this is the disclaimer. You know, I'm nearly 85% sure. Again, I'm working on it. But this is a side pointer so you guys could look into yourselves. Again, in the comments, we all sharing is caring, right? Not just power. So the idea is this, that this Bledsoe Baylor, Emmett Bledsoe Baylor, or Robert Emmett Bledsoe Baylor, I believe it is. You look at his picture, pencil drawing of him, I mean, immediately the one that pops up is going to look like Abraham Lincoln off the rip. At least it looked like it to me, off the rip. I'm like, whoa, I look like Abe Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, this is just my perception of it. Please do your diligence. So anyway, it doesn't take away from the fact that these guys have all such similar or similarities, such similarities, right? Because these guys, you know, they all own slaves. You know, these guys, Abe Lincoln alike. And of course, he didn't really free slaves. Of course, he created that industry complex, or he industrialized it. So he was really the businessman, the one who took slavery into capitalism, right? That's what he did. Okay, and the word escapes me, the one I want to use, but he basically marketized it, if that's a word, right? I put that in the comments. I know y'all know the word I'm trying to get, you know, and he just created an industry out of it. So everybody's profiting. You know, they love to keep you in jail. You know, they say that America has the most people in jail worldwide. Way above China, and China has some of the most people in the world. Some of the hugest population in the world. You know what I'm saying? So you think about that, man, in terms of ratios and proportions. Doesn't add up, man. You know, it seems like business. That seems like they're recruiting. There's more people getting pulled into jail than they getting pulled in for jobs. So they accepting resumes just to store them away. What they really want is they want you to stand on the corner, bullshit, get into trouble, or they like to catch you slipping with some of these stop and frisk laws, or no loitering, or no trespassing, or no panhandling, or no soliciting, or no ball playing, or no skateboarding, no bike riding. You know what I'm saying? All these different laws, man. No turnstile jumping, no fair evasion. You know what I mean? Like, all these different things, man. We got the right to search any bag that comes into this subway. You know, NYPD, and all these damn militarized policing efforts, you know, and they got all these big weapons. And I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? The civilian is losing his power. You know, the citizen, you know, which brings me to another topic, the word citizen. I would tell you is this, man. You know, I've been looking into a lot of things, and it relates to the Code of Arms, of course, because I'm looking at the Code of Arms in the Second Amendment, and I'm like, okay, what does that really mean? Now, we talked about George Washington. He had allegiance with America and Britain. Remember, he came from Britain. You know what I'm saying? So, and his wiki says America and Britain under allegiances. So, you think about that. And they had, when the British said, you have the right to bear arms, that was no joke. Let me tell you right now. Okay? And in fact, one of the first classes of nobility, not nobility, land gentry, which was one of the separate sort of units of the social class. Again, they have the nobles and they have land gentry. And one of the land gentry, they have what they call gentlemen. Interesting word, eh? Gentlemen. So, and ladies, of course, were the female equivalent of a gentleman. And these gentlemen were above, I believe, esquires and yeomen, or sort of in between there. Some people say we're even closer to knights. Okay? Very wealthy. Could live without even having to work because they had so much, I guess you would say, residual income coming in and what have you. Okay, I know we had 23 minutes, but it's getting real now. You know what I'm saying? So bear with me. So the idea is this, B. And I'm going to take this off so y'all get a different look. Maybe turn my hat. I'm probably getting bored. So the idea is this, man. These cats, man, they were really, what they were doing. I'm losing my train of thought, man. I'm just trying to be mindful now, man. So they making, you know, this Code of Arms, you know, they doing all this stuff, man. The Second Amendment, man, that really meant that you were, excuse me, just noticed I had a little drippy drip. So the idea is this, man, that to bear arms, you had to be the first, I believe, and don't quote me on this, because, quote me on this. The gentleman, okay, was the first one in the classes of land gentry that was even eligible to get a coat of arms. Now, some argue that some of them didn't want it, didn't pursue it, but they had the right to. And some argued that they always had it, that it was like a sword, having a sword handy. You know? So again, the right to bear arms, okay? So we're not just talking about bearing guns, the right to bear guns or knives or swords or anything to really defend you, because that's just not guns, all right? Arms is just not guns, guys. You know, arms is an array of things. It's a huge category. And again, I don't even think out on a limb, but I'm adding the notion that arms is also the coat of arms, because it also was used as a form of defense. Okay, somebody wasn't just running up in your spot and knowing you had a certain coat of arms, which said you especially had certain affiliations, okay, and certain rights and certain dignities. Okay, so they will respect that. In fact, likewise, if they was doing I forget what it's called, forget the word, excuse me, but at one point what they call the college of arms, they started doing these sort of like, I guess, raids, if you want to call them that, and just to make sure people who were using arms had the right to bear arms, because some people, you know, it was such a benefit to have arms that they would make their own arms and on the low use them for whatever things, you know, to get some benefits or whatever have you. So that was actually enforced to make sure you was valid to even have arms. And on top of that, if you use the words like sir, you know, if you was a knight or whatever have you, or a gentleman in this case on this topic, right? I would say that they was on top of you too, because they was not playing that. You was not using any kind of phrase that you wanted all the time you wanted to use it. Okay, so again, going back to the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, to having the right to bear arms, you know, really meant that you were at the right to be a gentleman. In school, they say ladies and gentlemen, right? You got to think about that, man. That's indoctrination, but they really not telling you the validity of it. I was watching the episode of Lamb Chop's Play Along the other day with my daughter. Just wanted to introduce her to it. She's nearly 2, and Lamb Chop says, talking to one of the human girls, they had one of the segments, and I got the video, I recorded it. I was stunned. She said, "Hey, can I introduce you?" And she said, "Hello, ladies and people." Literally disrespected all men on the whole of watching the TV, right? Everybody's watching the TV. That was a male got disrespected straight up, because you didn't want to say the word gentleman. So it got me thinking, because I just happened to be looking into this a day or so before, so I was able to catch it. It didn't go over my head, thankfully. So I looked it up. It's a British company. It's made in Britain, the show. So what that means, they can't call you gentlemen, because it's too official. It's a title that they hold regard, safe regard, in high regard. You know what I'm saying? So I believe, and this is the argument, we have the right to bear arms. Okay, and that means that we have the right to have coat of arms. And I encourage everybody to go into the College of Arms, you know, find your ancestral lineage, you know, and try to get your arms. You know, of course, you got to add your own sort of what they call charge to it, whatever have you, elements to make it yours. I'm going to be classic, okay, and everybody's going to share it and like it. It's going to be the thing that really goes viral out there, that really needs to, the usefulness of it. I hope everybody really sparks everybody's imagination and curiosity and intrigue, and really go in there and look, do their homework. I remember Robert Emmett Bledsoe Baylor, Abraham Lincoln. I think that really the Confederates won. The Confederates being the Scottish, and of course the St. Andrew's Cross. This is just recapping here. I got the alert. I'm at 10% battery, so I'm trying to make this quick. 29 minutes. Do it at 35 because I'm 35 now. See if we can make that. But the idea is that, man, you know, they call it the New World, and they seem to have wanting to erase the normalities, the formalities, the social norms that really gave people any value, any land, any entitlement, you know, any social status, you know, and really stripped us all of all our belongings, you know, and garnish it all for themselves as if to name it booty. You know, call it booty from a war, the spoils of war, whatever have you. You know, without even necessarily fighting a war. You know, just subjugating, oppressing people. You know, in generations and generations. And rewriting history. Remember, they call it his story. That's what history is. It's his story. It's his version of the facts, of the turn of events. You know, man, everybody has a coat of arms. Even Santa Claus, the Claus family, has a coat of arms. JFK, you know, again, not everybody on the world, of course, in the planet or in existence, but you get what I mean. You know, and these guys have families that use this stuff, and countries, different countries, every country, Hawaii, every country, everywhere. They all use it, especially countries. The UN countries, everybody use it. So what is it? Why are we not being allowed that? Why are we not being taught that? Why are we not being told about that? So I'm saying, so I want us all to look into this particular topic, because I think we're being cheated right under our eyes, right under our nose, right in front of our eyes. You know what I'm saying? So please, everybody, it gives me goosebumps, man. Look into this, man. You know, call me whatever you want, man. I prefer conspiracy theorists. Because the theories, you know, we got to conspire to rethink these theories. And think up new theories. And the information, the accessibility that's out there, we need to take advantage of it. Okay? This is just a month and a half or so of research on my phone. You know, guys, we really need to get to it, man. I think we're being tricked. Okay? We have the right to bear arms. That means we have the right to have coats of arms. Now, there's no official, and I always badger this word, hereditary. Forget the word, forgive me. But it's basically based on, you know, the art of coat of arms or whatever have you. You know, the College of Arms and all this. There's none of that here in New York or in America, you know, for whatever reason, you know, and I'm sure that wasn't coincidental either. Because, again, they want to keep that stuff for themselves. Those titles of nobility, that status, all that stuff, that fancy stuff, that's for them. The perhaps 1% we refer to as, you know. Guys, we really have to see, man, there's really going on, and we just being distracted by media, TV, music, musicians, everything, man, fashion, war, news. I mean, really, man, yeah, the stuff is sad that's going on, but it happens every day. It happens worse. We got to look at the real picture, what's going on, the real deal, the whole picture. So I'm saying, like, it's really scary when you think about that this country was founded by former slave owners who didn't think nothing was wrong with having people as property. Okay? We're talking about no integrity, no moral standings. These people were straight up evil, the equivalent of what we call Vikings. Excuse me, or the Normans, right? The Scottish. You know, like, this is no particular offense to anybody. I don't want to do that. But this is, you know, my talk right here is based off of historical information, facts that's out there. You know, and we got to wonder, if this country was founded by those people, are they ever really going to care enough about us to really give us those equal rights that we say that, you know, we deserve or that we're fighting for constantly? You know, you got to think to yourself, you know, these people wore wigs and long throws and big overcoats, oversized overcoats, and, you know, looked all royal and British and signed these documents with these fine feather pens and this ink. Did they really care about us? Okay? Because that Emancipation Proclamation did not free no slaves. It did not free no slaves. I have to say that again. It just created the industry to house slaves and justify it. because of course they committed a crime, so they have to do the time, right? And the idea, again, it just reminded me of cross my heart and hope to die. That's from, of course, that St. Andrew's cross, okay? Before you go to war, cross my heart and hope to die. I tell the truth. You know, this is the truth. You know, we've been tricked. We've been taught to believe this stuff, man. We really have been taught to believe that Jesus Christ, you know, God and all these different pictures and these ideas, you know, they all from the Roman church and all have to do with coat of arms and kings and knights and queens and royalty and society. I mean, that's just really what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about that. You know, I won't tell you my religion, but I will say I am a religious person, so I don't want you to think that I'm an atheist or nothing. But I don't think my religion is important. You know? But I tell you this, man, it's very interesting, all these correlations. You know, these saints, these kings, all these different, you know, coat of arms that you see everywhere, especially on churches and churches, these crosses, these eight petal flowers. Everything has a relation. You know, the king, the staff, the clothes, the queen, the robe she wears. You know, the cross, actually, the St. James cross, they call it the satire. But again, all these relations, everything's similar. Everything's tied together. You know, so who owns this country? So I'm saying, you know, I suspect that the Native Americans are probably, you know, sort of in on it too, man. That they sort of sold a lot of the land. They sold another fellow tribes out too. And they warred and killed other tribes just to, you know, get paid and get rights to certain land. I mean, you know, we've been tricked, man. We've been tricked. You know, we don't own nothing. Why? Because we've been stripped. We've been tricked. We've been tricked and, you know, basically on the bottom. And we've stayed and remained at the bottom. And we will stay at the bottom. If we don't wake up and notice what's inherently ours, our rights, our right to bear arms, to militarize, to create militias, you know, the right to liberty, to freedom. You know, he said to secure the freedom of a state, you gotta have independent militias, and it's the federal government's obligation of that country to ensure that those militias, those independent parties, or those little companies are well suited and organized and armed to support and do whatever they have to for their nation, right? On an independent level. It's their obligation. At least it's the understanding of the founding fathers. Okay? So I'm going to end this now. We had 38 minutes. Thankfully, it hasn't died yet, but I'm not going to push my luck, and I'm not going to take up much more of your time, guys. But listen, please do your homework, man. Get into it. You see what I'm saying? Because I tell you, man, there's so many connections. You click away. Right now, I'm at the Knights Templar. So I'm saying, these guys, arguably one of the first multinational companies. You know, in relation to Jesus and, you know, and King Solomon, right? Man, it's real out here. Even Illuminati has coat of arms. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying, guys, is you gotta look. You gotta look. You gotta read. It's out there. Say you want to hide something from somebody, put it in a book. You know, because that's just what's coming down to, man. We don't read. We don't look. You know, I'm guilty of it myself. You know, and I have arguably, you know, in all honesty, been doing a lot of this research on and off for the past 3 or so years. That's why I think I'm able to come off so fluent with it. You know, but let me tell you, man, I'm a skeptic, and when I talk, I make sure that I know what I'm talking about. So I like to look at people in the eyes so they know I'm talking that real, that I'm being honest, not being fake. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So kind of make sure I do my diligence. In Arabic, they call it dalil, and get the proof. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I've been doing. And I feel like I gotta bring it to you because, one, I could literally get killed for this, right? Because our IP addresses are out there, they could be tracking you, and that's just a fact. Everybody gotta suspect that. That's a fact. And I want this to be out there already, or because I could just die naturally, and I don't want this to never be seen, or heard. For those that can't see, right? So, and I wish I knew sign language or I had a mediator do the sign language, which I'm actually working on learning with my daughter. But the idea is this, man. We on our own, man. You know, they really rewrote history. They say my enemy wrote my history. My enemy wrote my history. So I'm saying we got to figure out a way. We got to reach out to, the different colleges of arms and find out if there's any way you could link your lineage to anybody in particular who may have had the right to bear arms. If I think your country you're from or origins from, if you could show origins from a country that has the right to bear arms, you may potentially have a right through them. Places like Spain, France, there's only a few actually. Britain, England, Scotland, Puerto Rico, which I was surprised to find out recently. Spain gave him the right to bear arms at 1410, maybe, something like that, which they still use, proudly, of course. It may cost you about $5,000 or so to do it, but understand, it's a small price to pay for such a prestigious emblem, that signifies such importance. Don't let America or the knowledge of the idea of America to ruin or strip away who you are, and your family's dignity, your lineage, your right, the fact that you can sit down and talk about, different coat of arms, defend the family, and live up to that standard of living and that ideology and that philosophy and really push your family for greatness. That's what coat of arms is really about. It is fundamental at its very fundamental level. So I tell you guys this, man. Really push for that, man. Look for that, man, and find that. And if there's anything I missed or anything I may be off on, please add to it. Please subtract to it. Please help. Feel free in the comment section to do what you can to help out to further this agenda. If you could have the means to create a blog and tag us in it, and you want to show love, we really do appreciate it. Any donations that help us be able to bring this content to you more frequently. Also, allow the time to do more research, because that basically, we need leisure time to do that. So if we have the resources, we can still pay bills and do what we got to do at the same time. Real is real. So luckily, we have almost 43 minutes, 2-minute wrap up. Hopefully we make it before this phone dies, and hopefully it kept it, because I don't know if it's going to keep it. If it dies, which I would fucking die about. And in that case, it was nice talking to the binary code or the camera for no reason. Or if it does survive and I die with blessing, so glad you listened to it. But guys, listen, man. The Constitution, Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, the right to keep and bear arms. Abraham Lincoln didn't free no slaves. He actually admittedly said openly in a debate for the Senate seat at some point where he was saying that he never has and never will be for equal rights with what they call blacks and whites races, and which I don't know why they refer to races as colors, but that's just what they do. It's all about divisions. That's what humans do. They divide because they want to be superior, and they don't know that the most superior being is the one almighty, right? And again, I don't want to get into religion, but you know what I'm talking about. Whatever that higher being is, like, you're not obviously the most important or most powerful thing in the creation, right? Anywho, it's very interesting. So many correlations, and again, particularly with Abraham Lincoln and Robert Emmett Bledsoe Baylor. I mean, down to letters written to relatives and causes of deaths and parts of parties, political parties, and even war and Battle of Gettysburg. And I mean, you wonder, man, if really what they did was that they just switched history, right? Really, the bad side won, and they just made it look, they painted it as the good side one, and they just swapped these two figures, which is very plausible. Actually, that was the 10% warning. So good job, Mark. Good job. You know what I'm saying? But we're still gonna wrap it up out of respect, guys. Too many relations, too many similarities, too many, man, too many, guys, for those two people. Okay, so I really don't think Abraham Lincoln exists in the way we think he did. Okay, and I really think the most prominent one of the two was Robert Emmett Bledsoe Baylor, who they referred to as a judge because he was a judge also. Now, I think that really it was him that actually did it. And maybe Abraham Lincoln might have been, if he did exist in his likeness, probably was really a Native American that they just fictionalized. You know what I'm saying? To make it look that way. But I tell you, man, no way. At least I'm 85% sure there's no way. There's too many parallels, too many similarities between those two individuals. Okay, too many. And again, look it up, please. Let's get to it, guys, as a community. Okay? Now we're looking into sovereign states. We're looking at the right to be sovereign. We're looking at this idea of social security numbers and birth certificates. And, of course, that's all speculation, if you want to call it that, conspiracy theories, and that's all geared towards whatever, that idea. But I tell you, man, this facts is facts. And that's what it is, man. Some states are sovereign states. America's a sovereign state. There's many of them. In the UN, all of them are sovereign states. You know what I'm saying? So we too have the right to be a sovereign state. We just have to relinquish our federal documents, and I understand IRS to give you all the money back they ever took from you and all this kind of stuff and whatever. It's almost looked at as anti-patriotic, but that's neither here nor there. The idea is that it's your right. You know what I'm saying? So you could take what the government has to offer. And move like what they call a sheep or sheeple, which is people and sheep together. Or you could just create your own, man. Set up your own stuff, man. Do your own thing, man. Stop bull crapping. So I'm saying, stop, just doing anything you're told, and start doing your homework. Start doing your diligence, looking for the dalil again, like they say in Arabic. So. It's out there. See, that's one thing I find, at least I suspect about lies. For lies to exist, the truth has to be put out there plain to see, plain as day. Why? Because if a lie gets caught, right, you always able to say, hey, but I told you. Or I thought you would have known. Or I thought you would have seen it. I thought you would have read it. It's been out there the whole time. We never hid that truth. We thought that was inherently known. That's how lies succeed. And that's how they last so many years. Okay? And I just happen to think, and I don't know, and I don't care how naive that may sound, but I think I may have potentially cracked one or two, maybe if not several codes here. Okay? And I mentioned, a little about the Native Americans. Of course, you're going to see that with a lot of those parties, man. The Native Americans were also involved in some of the early political parties. Before the Whig Party, which is WHIG or WHIGS. No, I think it's WHIG. But again, the early political Republican parties, especially that Know Nothing Party, where they literally said that they know nothing when asked about the inner workings of the party and what they believe and stuff. Anywho, I think it's very interesting. I think that there's too many connections. I think we've been hoodwinked, which I know people throw around a lot, so it's sort of come cliche, but I think it's for real, like really deep like that, and the most evil, diabolical, sort of setup and trap, and it's really scary, man. And the fact that I know this stuff, like how I'm gonna moving forward, right? But I really do have to tell you guys, because there's so much more that needs to be looked into, and more connections need to be made, and we need to create a network of people that's really on this page, willing to bring this to the forefront. Because we're talking about our civil liberties, our freedom, our rights to own things. Ownership, social status, wealth. You know what I'm saying? Not just money, but wealth overall. So we really got to do this, man, for ourselves, for our generations, for our families, for our people, for our last names, our surnames, if you will, if they were further back then. They still knighting people these days. They have Sir Elton John, for instance. So, and Sir, of course, is knight. So, guys, again, that's another thing. You don't have to be in Britain to get crowned. Or not crowned, coated, or that's how I would call it, but to be granted a coat of the right to bear arms, as they call it, the right to bear arms, the right to own a coat of arms. You don't have to be from there. You just got to show, some relation, and have lived a great life and done admirable things and humanitarian things and been successful in business and stuff like that. Again, residual income, the point where you can't work, self-sufficient, that stuff. That kind of stuff. So the idea is this, man. Just to sum it up, man, we in trouble. We just gonna let them get a pass on this. Indoctrinating all our kids. Ruining the school systems. Or calling a sorry excuse of a school system. Poisoning our kids with this literature, these books. Showing us this classical age info and instilling in us, this white supremacy's idea of Caucasian superiority, and, trying to take away our belief system and our ideas and, what we do. And, Mansa Musa was the richest people in the world. He's from the Mali Empire, Africa, But they don't teach none of this stuff to us, because they don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know, especially not from an early age, our potential for greatness. You know what I'm saying? They don't want us to know none of that. They don't want to know there was a future or a past. They barely talk about the Egypt and the pyramids. And if they do, they just talk about it vaguely. Really just want to make you think of it as rocks. It really don't mean much. But look into it. It's deep. I remember once reading years ago that J.P. Morgan spent the night inside the Great Pyramid. Why he did that for? There's something going on, man. These cats are doing some serious Masonic stuff, man, which is, of course, connected also in this stuff. Man, these cats, they really are on it, man. They really are on it. Everything's connected. All these coat of arms, all these churches, particularly the Roman Catholic ones, man. Everything, Norman, Scottish, the Confederates, everything is connected, guys. Okay, these guys are they have really hoodwinked us and paint the history in a way where it's almost flawless. But thanks to technology, you're able to just look around and see and follow links, and praise God for links. It's something else, man, what's going on, and I really do sincerely hope and honestly pray, man, from the point I'm going to upload this, from now until forever, that somebody really does look into this, man, and people really do take this serious, because it's no joke, man. You know what I'm saying? The British, the French, the Normans, the Roman Catholic Church, they basically suppressing us, man. They're using us for their miserable gain. They taxing us, which is essentially theft. So I'm saying, because no justification to be taxing people. Then they triple and double tax you, on the goods you buy. They tax you on your income before you even get your check. They didn't take the money out. It's just a really vicious system, man. They take everything from Medicare, Social Security, you name it. They taking it. You know what I'm saying? And New York tax, New York State tax. They just taking it, man. You're lucky if you live in a state like, Vegas or Delaware, where you have no income tax, but property tax might be higher. But again, they just taking your money. And this money, they say, is for social good and programs and Man, this stuff really, man, is filling these pockets. It's filling these pockets. This gives these gentlemen, okay, the residual income they need to be titled as such, so they can have the right to bear arms and seek arms and get them, you know, from these colleges of arms and these royal families, you know. And again, you could go to you get it from France, you get it from Russia, you could get it from Spain, you can get it from some of the Asian countries, some of the Indian countries, some of the Arabic countries. Guys, you really could get a coat of arms. You just have to look into it, see if you connect, find that lineage, you know, get the right, get your rights. You see what I'm saying? And I tell you, man, you know, we need to find out the truth about this country, man. Like, who really won that civil war? Who really are the victors? You know? Because if the bad guys won and they painted themselves as good, as the good guys, then what does that leave us? So I'm saying? Or were there even good guys at all on either side? You know what I'm saying? Because I just told you Abraham Lincoln didn't really free any slaves, and he owned slaves himself, you know? So you gotta think. You gotta think. Were there any good sides at all? So I'm bringing this information up now. I feel like I'm rambling on. So I'm just really trying to sum it up. I notice I'm close to an hour, but I'm not going to go the whole hour. I'm going to give you a break of that 3 minutes or whatever. But guys, blessings, man. I really didn't mean to go this far. Remember, we started at trying to do just 15 minutes. But look at all the info I done laid out on the table and dealt y'all. The cards that you guys now have in your hands, the tools that I done gave you. You know what I'm saying? That you could take with you, write down, take notes, and collaborate. Excuse me, with don't get that word right, but you know what I mean. Cooperate. Excuse me. And you can find it. Proof is out there. I said I like to look at people in the eye when I talk, so I know what I'm talking about, because I know that the tongue is mightier than the sword. Okay, so guys, please do your diligence. Get out there, do your homework, all right? You know, find your lineage. If you have the right to bear arms, you know, as stated in the Constitution, then that's our right, and we should take advantage of it, and nobody stop you. If you're a felon and you can't own a gun, then that's even more of a reason for you to go out there and find yourself a coat of arms, because that's at least going to give you the right, you know, to speak up, to negotiate. And if you want to become a sovereign national, then you have the right to negotiate as a separate state, because they have plenty of states living within states, they call it. You see what I'm saying? And these people have the same rights as foreign governments, you know. And you know, I just said company, but that's essentially what countries are, and corporations. And by the way, get yourself a corporation. Even if you don't actually do any business, start buying property and putting it in your corporation, and put the corporation in a state. That's just a side note. Okay, guys? Because you want to protect yourself wholly, WHOLLY, from any liabilities, okay, for your property. So protect that by setting those things up, because they doing it. That's what these countries are, okay? Now it's Chase and Company. Yeah, that's the name of the bank. J.P. Morgan Chase and Company. And that company actually happens to be America, which is the first, I think, instance, or so far the only known instance where the government went into business, which they're not supposed to. They violated their very standard of separating, just like they do with church and state. They separate also with business and government, but they violated that. They said they had to do it for the bailout. You know, that crash. They said they were too big to fail. Guys, I know you know I know my stuff. I've done my homework. Okay, guys, so bear with me. Show me love. Show this channel love. It's Cypher Lounge. Like, share, comment. If you feel like it, if you thought it was worth the like, if it needs the thumbs up, you know, that's how we judge things often. Get it out there, make it popular with the algorithm so other people can see it. Take a screenshot, copy the link, make sure it's linkable. If not, spell it out for people, man. It's real like that, guys. I really need this to get out there because this is of the utmost importance. I'm wrapping this up now at a minute even. Sorry, an hour even on the dot. And I hope you guys don't mind. It's been love. It's been a blessing. Well worth the investment of my time. And I really guarantee that if you really stuck it out with us or with me, that it really was worth it. Blessings.